Dean DaCosta, super sorcerer, was on the show a few weeks ago to promote his book. His name is Dean DaCosta. Go on Amazon. It's $10 Canadian. And that really gave me a good framework on which to understand this AI. And I'm going to give you right now the key things that I took away from that book that I remember very clearly. Okay. He describes two different frameworks for writing a prompt. A prompt is the instructions you give an AI tool, telling it what you want it to do for you. So he's got two of them. One he calls KISS, the other he calls POS. Okay. I call them something different. There's a prompt for a simple task. I call that the simple prompt. And then there's the prompt for a more complex task. So if it's a simple task, you just want the AI to do one thing. If it's a complex task, you want it to do a bunch of different things. So you stack them or layer them. That's what it's called. Okay. So let me tell you the memory devices that I use to remember these two frameworks. That really made a profound difference for me. So maybe it won't for you. I don't think Dean would like my ideas, my way of construing his stuff, but he's probably never going to see this. So I don't really care. I can still thank him for teaching me what he did. Now, the simple prompt, I use this memory device. It's a short phrase, put my gear outside. And the keys there are the first letters of every word. Okay. So put is P, my is M, G is gear is G, and outside is O. Okay. P stands for persona. That's a role you give the AI tool so it can do the work for you. Dean gave an example, well, a pretty good one. He said, if you tell it to think of itself as a clown, okay, and then tell it to go look for Dean DaCosta's information, it's going to look for all the funny stuff he does. That's going to be its focus, okay? But if you want to find out his recruiting value, you're going to say, act as a senior recruiter who's got 20 years experience recruiting other recruiters, and go research Dean DaCosta for me and focus on his recruiting ability, something like that. But the point is, you're telling the AI tool the framework, the personal framework, its identity. That's very important. And you can make it simple, act as a recruiter, but the more information you give it about its length of experience and the specialty it has, the better your prompt is going to work. Next is mission. M, remember, put my gear outside. M is for mission. Dean calls it, I think, task. That's what it is. But I like mission impossible. Okay? So you tell it what you want it to do. And if it's a simple one, so you just tell it one thing you want it to do. Summarize this resume for me. And you give it that resume. The next step is G, put my gear outside. That's G. And those are guidelines. He calls them rules or constraints. And so those are things and special instructions, like he stresses, you're going to summarize this resume for me. Just focus on the resume. Don't make anything up, inferring other things, it just use the data that I've given you and nothing else. So those are the guidelines. And finally, there's the O, from put my gear outside. The O is the output structure, the output format. Put everything in bullet points, under 200 words, something like that. Okay, so you've got put my gear outside. Put my gear outside. That's the simple prompt. Next comes the complex prompt. You want it to do a bunch of different things. The way he says it, you've got a bunch of simple prompts. You put them all together in one more complex prompt. And so the memory device I use for that is put MSG. It took me a minute to remember. Put MSG on spaghetti. MSG is monosodium glutamate. It's a food additive. It was controversial for a while. It makes things more tasty, but people said, it causes cancer. Put MSG on spaghetti. That's the prompt I'm using, okay? That's the memory device for the prompt. So for you got the same as for the simple prompt. Persona, right? Put persona. That's the role you're giving the tool, the AI. Mission. Put my MSG, right? Mission. That's the task you're giving it. S in this case are the steps. Dean calls them process. Okay, so you've got a number. It's not doing just one thing, it's doing a bunch of different things that follow from one another. Okay, so those are the steps. You list them separately. um, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can number them. You can just put a dash or a dot before each one. But those are the steps. Put MSG. G are the guidelines, just like the other one. Just use the information I'm giving you. Don't infer anything. Don't make anything up, because the AI, Dean stressed to us, these tools, if you don't tell them exactly what to do, they'll try to please you by coming up with stuff that you don't want, right? That isn't even true. Okay. So he says those guidelines are very important. And sort of the key focus on them, it seems to me, is that you tell the AI just to use the information you're giving it, and not to do any favors by going out and searching for more. So those are the put, MSG. Next is on. O. It's again the output format. I want it in bullet points, or I want it in short paragraphs. The information under 200 words, or under 100 words, under 120 words, whatever it is you want. Okay. And the final one in this case, put MSG on spaghetti. The final S stands for success criteria. You tell, I want this to be a report that I could show to a hiring manager to help her make a decision between, it's a comparison, let's say, between two different candidates. You put in two resumes. You tell the AI to grade each of them, in relation to the job description. So you say at the end, I want this to be an easy to read or easy to compare grading of each candidate according against the job description that I can show a hiring manager, so she can make an easy decision. So those are the important things that I learned from Dean DaCosta